All right. Okay, thank you for showing up and being here today. I'm really excited to share what I've learned and to have been able to meet you and chat for a minute. And we are going to jump into this and get started. So here is the screen. Oh, wonderful. Oh, I must have to click share first before I can admit her in. Okay. All right, welcome, Alicia. Thanks for coming. Okay. And we'll click send. Awesome. Okay, can you guys all see my screen slideshow? It should say easiest homeschool year with a picture.
I can see it.
Okay.
Yes, I can see it too.
Okay, awesome. So I actually sometimes try to avoid certain things in life where I don't. This isn't the way I really wanted to start this, but I've been homeschooling for 15 years, and it wasn't until I sat down and actually thought about how I could support more people, our customers, followers on Instagram, that I sat down and realized I actually kind of know a lot, and I really like the way my family is structured. And I know that there are people out there who are struggling, just like I used to years ago. And I still will struggle a little bit now. I don't think you can ever completely move out of it because life changes and you got to move with it. But I've learned a lot of things over the year that are core foundations that we've built our family on, that is applicable to even if you don't homeschool your kids. But because we homeschool, that's where a lot of it came from, and where the support is that I want to give. And so what I was saying before, I never really saw myself as an expert in this area, but I do have people asking me about how we do things or commenting on how they love the way we live and how we structure ourselves and our family and how we work with our children. And I just thought that this is something that I could offer to maybe offer some support and even validation to other homeschool moms, because I know that we all feel those feelings of not good enough, that that maybe we are in over our heads, or I don't know, any of those feelings. Have any of you felt any of those things? If you want to open your chat and type, me in there, I think we all can relate to not feeling good enough, or feel like we're just messing everything up and maybe we should just avoid what we're doing. Yes, Alicia. So good. Glad to know I'm not alone. So that's where this really came from, because I wanted to share things that I've learned that has made homeschool life easier, and not just homeschool life, but homeschool life as a business owner and a part-time employee, and we have a farm. So there's lots of things that we can, do or feel called to in life. And I firmly believe that we don't have to say no, because when we feel called to something, I feel like that is God knocking on our heart, telling us and giving us direction of our purpose in life, of what He wants us to do for Him. So we don't have to say no, but there are definitely ways to manage doing all of the things that makes it easier, where we can avoid that burnout and overwhelm. So, oh, now it's not gonna work. Okay, here we go. So one of the things that has shown up a lot for me over the years, especially when my kids were young, is I would go out and I would, school supply shopping was an addiction for me. I need to go to School Supply Shopping Anonymous, because I'd go out and I'd buy all the things. We'd get all of these things for curriculum, and we'd have everything set up. And I'm like, all right, we're doing a new schedule this year, and this is how things are going to be, and it's going to be great. And I'd get everything set up, and I'm so excited. and we'd get going on it. And a month or two in, everything just felt like a disaster. It was too much. Kids were cranky. There wasn't a lot of, congruity. It was a battle to get anything done, and we were all just over our new fantastic schedule. And so then we'd give up, and it was just this rough place. And again, just supporting those feelings of not being good enough. And so I want to share the things that I've learned to help you maybe avoid those same feelings. So you're here to discover different ways to manage stress and avoid that burnout and overwhelm, and also clarity on choosing curriculum. I have some pretty firm opinions on what is necessary, things that I found in my kids that just didn't work. And we're going to go through some of the ways that you can choose for yourself and for your family what is best, what is really necessary, and what can you just get rid of. And then also through this whole entire presentation, the goal is that you can witness just how possible it actually is to do all of these things, to still feel like an individual, and to be successful in all of the different areas of your life that you feel called to. So as a little introduction of who I am, in case you don't know me very well or just found me because of this webinar, I have been a homeschool mom for over 15 years. Really, my journey began before I even had kids. My oldest sister was learning about homeschool to homeschool her children, and I was 19, brand new married, and I was her confidant. Like, she would call me and talk to me about all the stuff she was learning and bounce off of me, and it really solidified for me what I wanted to do for my family. So we started from the beginning. I did have, my oldest daughter did attend a year and a half of school, kindergarten and her first year of first grade. And it was a blessing that happened. And that's a story for another time. But we've really homeschooled pretty much all the entire time I've had children. I have 6 children. They range from 18 to 3. And so kind of a wide variety here, different phases and experience. We run a 40-acre farm as husband and wife and kids. It's a family affair where we raise and sell pastured meats direct to consumers. So we ship our meats, we raise everything from start to finish here, and it really is a family effort. I also have a part-time job that I have had for off and on for almost 20 years with the same company. I just do some customer service, and it's a really, really nice job that I've enjoyed, and I enjoy the people who own it. And then I'm just passionate about a lot of things. Like, I could talk about a lot of things, as I'm sure you all can, and just really love life. And if I were to have one goal in life, it would be to help other people love their life as much as I love mine. Their life doesn't have to look the way mine does, but I just would love to share that enthusiasm and joy and love all over. Okay, so moving into our first topic, curriculum. And my opinion is it's method, not curriculum. Education is a way of life. It is not an event. This is something that we start from the time we are actually even conceived. As babies growing, there's learning and development that takes place there, and it goes all the way until we take our last breath. And really being able to have that viewpoint is so helpful when you're in the grind and you're find yourself in that place of comparing yourself to maybe other homeschool moms or other children who might seem like they're more educated than your own. But if we can take that step back and recognize that a true education is not just about 2 plus 2 equals 4, that will really help in our overall experience as homeschool moms. What we focus on in our home are principles of leadership education, and we're going to dive into that a little bit later in the webinar. But well, we'll just move on. We won't get into any more. So kind of what I was saying is, it's not what you do, but how you do it. You can have the best curriculum in the entire world and your children still not get educated. You can buy all of the things, you can have the perfect schedule, you can do all of those things, have all of the what's in place, but your approach is really what determines what the outcome is. And this is a principle that I learned with horses. I've trained horses and really study horse training. It is a major passion of mine, and that's what one of the trainers said. Because there's horses, when you are in that world, they have the bits. If you're not familiar, you put a bit in their mouth with reins, and that's part of how you ride and direct the horse. Well, there's bits. There's people who use no bits at all. And then there's people who have these really fancy large bits that a lot of people say they're really harsh and a form of abuse. But a properly trained and refined horse, that bit isn't abusive. It's not what you use. It's not the type of bit you use it, but it's how you use that bit that determines if it's going to be abusive or not. And so that is a true principle that I have really taken and internalized and use as kind of that guide in my paradigm of how I see things and how we move through our life as a family and a farm here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about keeping the end in mind when we're talking about this method versus curriculum. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to allow yourself to see your family 20 years down the road. What are you guys doing? How are you interacting? And really, what does life look like 20 years down the road? What do you want it to look like 20 years down the road? Okay, so now in the chat, I want you to give me like one little sentence or something of what you saw. You always get anxious, Marie. Or just what you want to see. What do you want what do you want to see in your children in 20 years? So whenever I do this vision, I see all of my kids coming back to the farm, and we're just having a big meal outside, barbecue outside. We've got grandkids running everywhere, and we are all sitting around the table just deep in discussion, laughing, enjoying time together, teasing each other. Okay. Jennifer wants to see smart, well-rounded children in good health. All of us with good, close relationships. Yes. See that my children have all accepted Jesus as Lord and Savior. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So, did anyone see anyone pulling out report cards, talking about the math that they learned? Did anyone see anything that had anything to do with academics? It's not what the most important thing, is it? When you look 20 years down the road, the most important thing is not what math they learned. It's not how well they learned it. It's who you end up being as a family. So moving to the next thing. Oh, it's not moving. Okay. So the point of this is that human beings are always learning. Like I said before, we start from even conception, learning and developing, the movement and that experience of being born. It all is a part of that development and growth. And we never stop. We never stop growing. We never stop learning. We never stop developing. A child a child innately has a desire to learn inside. And it is our opportunity to nurture that desire to learn, not necessarily dictate what they learn. So, how many of you have learned something or become educated on something that you didn't be educated on in high school? That sounded funny, be educated on. How many of you have learned something since high school, that you didn't learn then? Type in the chat, 1, if you've learned something since high school. You didn't learn much in high school. Yeah. Okay. I know that pretty much everything I do and know, has everything to do with what I've learned since high school, since what I've learned as an adult. Can we use that then to tell ourselves that our children aren't behind? That if they have a reason to learn something, they will do it? There was a family that I know that their son, he was high school age, he was getting ready for college. He really wanted to join this one college, but he had to have a certain accredited math or something like that. And he enrolled himself in studying math and learning it. And he did like 2 years worth of math in 2 months so that he could go to this college. They can do whatever they set their mind to. They have to have a reason and a desire, and they have to understand why they want it. Isn't that why any of us learn anything? A young child wants to learn to walk because they see everybody else walking. If everyone else was crawling on their hands and knees, they would never have any reason to learn to walk. So it is in our innate nature as human beings to always learn and always progress. It's not something that has to be forced. So what do? So we follow what is called TJED, Thomas Jefferson Education. And I'll just go into a few basic things. There's what's called phases of learning. And we have our core phasers, where anyone at any age can be in any phase, but there's certain lessons that are learned in each phase. And the younger phases, like this core phase, this is where they learn right from wrong, good from bad, truth from false. They work with mom and dad, they play with mom and dad. And then around the age of 8, typically, but it can be later, then there is a phase called love of learning. And this is where, your child wants to learn about and be an astronaut one day, and a couple days later, then they're going to be a pirate, and they're learning everything about running a ship, or, just falling in love with learning and all of the possibilities out there. And the responsibility of that phase is to just fall in love with learning. Then in the way we do our education is then there's scholar phase. And this can start around age 12, but my son didn't enter scholar phase until he was 15. He's been in almost a scholar almost a year. Scholar phase is where in our family, where academics are a little bit more focused on. But this is because the kids have a little bit better of an understanding of what they want in life, and they're ready to commit to it and put in the hard work for an education. Whereas everything else foundationally was just getting them ready to even want an education and to learn. So if you are, some people would say that this looks a little bit more like unschooling, but it's really just about being child-led. And one of the principles is inspiring the child to learn versus requiring. So my younger kids, love of learners and core phasers, still learn math. It just doesn't look like sitting down and filling out a worksheet. We don't have a set curriculum other than what they're wanting to learn, and having the resources and support. And I know there's a lot of families that do that. Maybe you do some of your homeschool like that. Maybe how many of you actually like purchase curriculum and go through it from beginning to end? Type me in the comments. Okay, so if I'm right, based on the chat, none of you actually purchase a curriculum and go through and use it. How many of you have ever felt guilty about not purchasing a curriculum and going through and using it? You have not felt guilty, Alicia, or you have not purchased curriculum? Oh, yeah, definitely feel guilty. Yeah. So there's that comparison game. But that's why the very first principle is keeping that end in mind. Remembering that your role here and what you feel called to as far as being a homeschool mom isn't necessarily to teach them calculus. There's something that you have been called to that is bigger than an industrial education. So what to do? So then if you're not following an actual curriculum, what do you do with your children to inspire them to love learning? Well, what we do is we play lots of games. There's card games, board games, Catan, and they learn these principles through play. And I can't remember the exact percentage, but I believe that when you learn through play, or a child learns through play, they retain like 70% more than if they were to learn it through like a workbook model. There is value in that, and it seems so against the grain, but you're homeschooling for a reason, right? You have felt to go against the grain of society, and it's uncomfortable, but there is even science to back up what you naturally do. So we play games, and the other thing is read. There is a list that I have access to, and I actually could share it, I think, if anyone is interested, where a list of all of these classics and books, and they are categorized by what subject they teach. So science, math, then just your reading and language arts. Yeah, always looking for more classics. Well, I can share some of the lists that I have, and there's a lot of lists. This list is through TJ Ed, if you haven't ever heard of TJ Ed, but I've gotten these lists from them, and just tons of books to read, and that is the foundation of our education, because if you can read, okay, yeah, and that works. Charlotte Mason, actually, I know a lot of people that combine Mary Charlotte Mason along with TJN, but I can share that list, and it has it separated out. So your child can get a great math education just by reading books. Your child can get a great science education just by reading books. And if we are nurturing that love of learning, it actually can be pretty easy to do. So those are the things that we focus on: games and reading. And then when they get into the scholar phase, where academics are a little bit more encouraged, we still do reading. And then the kids determine, okay, this is what I want to do in life. I'm going to need to know this kind of math. And then we find out how they can do that. So an actual curriculum isn't necessary. It's just that method, not what you do, but how you do it. And you as a mom are not responsible for your child's education. What do you think about that? Do you agree? Type yes in the chat if you agree that you as a mom are not responsible for your child's education. It is hard to believe, but it's true, because that child is the only one that can choose to learn. That child is the only one that can choose that. Your job, yeah, your job is only to set up the support and inspire that child to want an education. So another principle of leadership education is you, not them. And this one can be a difficult one to really, accept, kind of like that you're not responsible. You're responsible for your education. And when your child sees you getting an education, what do children do? They do what you do, not what you say, right? So if you're only telling them that an education is important and they need to learn these things, it's never going to get in here. But if they see that that's something you value and something that you are putting an effort into and something that you take time to do, they will mimic you. They will do it themselves. Read and discuss. Share what you're learning. So another principle that we use is what's often called HomeSchool. So, I'm going to share this a little bit later when we get into managing our stress. But HomeSchool, you're sharing what you learn with your kids, and what you're learning with your kids will inspire them. They might not necessarily be inspired to learn what you're learning, but it will inspire them to think about what they want to learn. It's a really, really neat principle to watch happen. We've got someone else joining us. All right. Welcome, Bethany. So we're just discussing some of method, not curriculum, and have gone over a few things, but that will all be available in the replay. But just wanted to say welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to move. Oh, I have to have this on two different monitors. So we are going to move into managing stress right now. So now that one of the first things with managing stress a lot is being able to let go and understanding the place that the role that curriculum plays in your homeschool experience. When you're able to let go of that and able to let go a little bit of that comparison and stay honed in on what you feel called to do, there's a lot of stress that just melts away just in that of itself. But I really liked this quote: "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." But when you set yourself up, you can set yourself up to where choosing thoughts isn't a challenge. And I'm going to go over kind of how I do that. So again, we come back to this principle. It's not what you do, but how you do it, right? There's a lot of different ways to manage stress. So it's not necessarily what you choose to do, but how you do that. So, and that leads us right into structuring Structure and free time. So one of the principles in leadership education that we focus on is structuring time and not content. So how that can look is we can say, for an hour, let's learn about math. But we don't have a set way we're going to learn about math. And you don't even have to say it that way. For an hour, we're going to play this game. Or what game would you like to play for an hour? Children need structure and they also need free time. And if their entire day is structured and regimented and they're not able to explore and get bored, they're going to get overwhelmed themselves and burn out. And that's where a lot of clashing can happen and where your stress level will rise. This is also a part of accepting the idea that we are not responsible for our children's education. They are. And if we're not giving them the room to seek after the things that inspire them, then stress ensues. So one of the things that I do that I have found to be like the best thing, we're going to rewind a little bit. When I first started, had children, I had the day of what I was doing scheduled down to like 15-minute increments. That's how crazy I was because I felt like I had to control everything and felt like I had to control every avenue of what was happening. I've got 15 minutes to, scrub this. I've got, the whole day wasn't broken into 15 minutes, but there were sections that was 15 minutes of this and an hour for this. And I had to follow it very strictly. And over the years, I've learned how to just let go. And that has been such a freeing, but also difficult process. But what I have found to work the best is block scheduling. And so I'll go over our typical day. And that is from, for me, from 5 to 7 is when I work my part-time job because I have that flexibility to choose my hours. 5 to 7, I work my part-time job. And if it doesn't take that long, it doesn't usually, then I end earlier and I go help feed at like 6:30. We go out and we do morning chores, feeding the animals. And then we come in and then this time, so from about 7 to 10 is my time to be with the kids. We have breakfast, we do morning chores, and anything else that I feel inspired to do. I try to be consistent with a devotional, and sometimes it just doesn't happen because I feel inspired to do something else. And I really try to follow that because following inspiration lessens stress for me. And I think I'm getting ahead of myself in one of my topics, but that's okay. But so then at 10 o'clock, that's when I sit down and I work on some of my farm business, our direct-to-consumer meat business. And I do that from 10 to 12. And that time is free time or education time for the kids. They can read, they can play, whatever it is that they want to do. They can be bored, whatever, it doesn't matter. Then we go into our block time of lunch, preparing and eating and cleaning up, however, what order that happens. And then in the afternoon, I check in with my part-time work. I manage the customer service, so I check in and see how things are going. And then it's my time with the kids again, or if I have something for a business that needs my attention. And again, it's free time, and or I choose to read with them, or we go on an adventure or something, but I don't have what we're doing in that time block scheduled. Otherwise, I get stressed out because then what happens is I'm not present if I have everything scheduled, exactly what we're going to do every day. There has to be flexibility and spontaneity in that. And I think that's, oh, no. Okay. So that's not, that is in this spontaneity. Sorry. So being able to be structured yet flexible is really important in a family. How many of you, what is your greatest stress being a homeschool mom? Write it in the comments, 1 or 2 words. And if you don't know where the chat is, it's a little, you can see that there's like 6 people in the group, or maybe that's just my side, I don't know, but there's a little box that has the tail on it, like a caption or something. That's the chat box. Okay, not being able to work your business like you need to, okay? Feeling like you're not doing enough. Okay, so the block schedule answered is making sure they're learning. Yes, and you know what? All 3 of those were helped significantly for me by applying a block schedule, because I was able to be present in that moment. In our morning time, that is time for like that mom school I was talking about. That is where I'm able to grab a book and just read to them if I want to, or play a game, but you can't seem to be present for your business. And that, yes, do you, so, okay, what's your business? I don't want to take too much time, but I'm actually really curious. You're a health coach. Okay. So, can you just block certain time that you can take clients, that you have this many hours in the morning maybe and this many hours in the afternoon, and that's when you focus on that? Just a thought. So being able to be present in each time. So I'm not stressed about the next thing I'm going to do, because I know I have time set aside for that. And I just stay, and I know that when the timer goes off on my phone, because I don't even pay attention to the clock, I just have a schedule on my phone. And when that goes off, then I go and check it, and I know that it's time to move into the next thing. And then I do whatever needs to be done there, or feel inspired, or however that goes. As far as my business, I have a task list that I follow, but I've done consulting before, and that's how I did it. Was I blocked out, this is when I can do calls and this is when I can do calls, and then I don't really think about it outside of that. And it takes practice, but I'd be willing to chat with you about that, Marie, if you want some support or ideas. I'm happy to do that with you, but we're gonna move on because I'm running out of time. Okay, so the next thing, oh, I believe you on that. Kids can be a handful, and it can be hard. I don't know. There's a lot I could say about that. But I can talk to you, Marie, another time. Another thing that I do about managing stress is making sure that I'm providing satiating foods. Not to get too much into this, but I want to share a comparison. My family was largely plant-based for, I don't know, at least the first 10 years of our homeschool experience. And we are largely animal-based now. And I will tell you there is a significant difference. And the reason being because they are eating more satiating foods, fat and protein, and their blood sugar levels Okay, very similar experience, Marie. Their blood sugar levels are even. They're not as, I mean, kids are kids. They always want to snack on something, right? But their ability to manage their emotions is a complete 180. One of the things that is really important in starting your day is starting your day off with fat and protein. If you start your day off with carbs, even fruit, your insulin levels and your blood sugar levels can be out of whack. And we all know, what is hangry. That is because blood sugar levels are low and you're ornery and cranky until you get something in your system, right? If you can start your day out with fats and protein, you are setting you and your children up for a much better emotional experience every day. So our goal is always, eggs, bacon, hamburger patties, um, cheese, fat. We really want a lot of that in there, and that has just made the biggest difference. So I actually have a document that I've made. It's called Once for Lunch, and I go through and I explain. It's really a principle that can be used for any meal, but I kind of just explain how we set that up to make sure that our blood levels are good and we're satiated, and then that hunger, that hangry, doesn't have to show up. The other thing is a week at a time. So our family, we manage our lives basically a week at a time. Do we have things on the calendar further out? For sure. When we learn about something, we'll write it on the calendar. But each week we sit down, and there's a few things that we do that sets us up to be present and for everyone to know what is happening and to know what to expect. A lot of stress can come from anxiety. And for kids, that's a big thing. Anxiety is the unknown, right? They don't know what to expect. They don't know what's ahead. And that's why a block schedule is also helpful, because if they know from this time to this time is my time for being able to play, this time to this time is time for chores, they know what to expect. And they're also able to be creative within that. So our weekly thing is, we do this on Sunday just because it's easy. We go through our week. We have what's called Captain's Council, and that's where my husband and I meet, and we go over the schedule for week. We have this, we have this, we have this. And this is really helpful because even though we share a Google Calendar, he does not always know what's going on. He doesn't pay attention to it quite the same way I do, and that's okay. I don't expect him to. But Sunday is our day to sit down and know what is ahead of us. And then we can discuss how to get kids have a weekly activity that they go to with our church. And so, depending on schedules, we know how to get everyone where they need to be, when they need to be. As far as farm work and farm chores and what needs to be addressed, we're able to sit down and have all of that out in front of us. If we were to try and do that a month out or even 2 weeks out, so much changes outside of a week that it's too frustrating. So we live a week at a time. And so he and I go through and discuss that. And then we also discuss our children together. This is one of the things that when you have a larger family, okay, how many of you have more than 3 kids? Type me in the chat. I know that at least one of you do. Alicia. She might not be here still. I'm not sure. She said she was having troubles. 2 kids, Kay. But are those kids young, Bethany? I don't know how old your kids are still. They are young. So 2 kids can be a handful. Yes, 7 and 2. Okay. Okay, and Alicia, you have more. So So when you have young kids or you have a lot of kids, sometimes, and I know, Jennifer, you mentioned it before, like feeling like you're doing enough for them. When you have so much going on a daily basis, you might not always feel like you're connecting with each of your kids, because in Bethany's situation, you have a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and 2-year-olds take a lot of time and attention. I know that having babies was always one of my biggest guilt trips, because I felt so bad about all of my other kids because that baby took so much time. And especially when I was nursing, different health things didn't help with that. And so, but each week, I'm able to have a deeper connection with each one of my kids and check in with them on a level that I'm just not able to during the week. So my husband and I, we discuss our family. We go through, we talk about what each of our children need, whether it's physical things or emotional support, what they might be struggling with, how we can help them, and those things. Another thing that I do, and I'm not as good about it as I'd like to be, but it's called blank page mentoring. And this is where you sit down, you write your child's name at the top of a blank page, and you just write anything that comes to your mind that you can do for that child. You write it down. Even if it's take them to Disneyland, you might not actually do it that week, but write it down. All of the things that you feel like your child needs from you. And then you pick 1 or 2 of those things, and that's what you focus on that week, that you do for that child specifically. So in all of the chaos and all of everything that happens, you are emotionally and spiritually, mentally connecting with that child and intentionally working on that relationship. That is a game changer. And that is a game changer when it comes to their education, because what can you do for that child's education that week? I think my daughter, I think I need to inspire her on reading. She's not really wanting to get there. My son Declan didn't read till he was 9, you guys. He tried working on it and we butted heads, and I finally just let go. And you know what? He picked it up at 9 years old and he was reading 6th grade level in like 2 months. It's okay for them to not be on track with the rest of the world, because they'll get there on their own. But you can write that. I think maybe I'll encourage them a little bit more to read. Maybe I'll just read with her once or twice this week, just her, and work on some of those words. That blank page mentoring is so powerful. So those are what we do. Then we interview our children every week. Now, we might not get all of them every week because we have a lot of them, and we give them time to talk, but this is their time that they get to come sit down with mom and dad, 1-on-2 time, I guess, parents and child, and we talk. We might have some things we want to talk to them about. They might have some things they want to talk about specifically, but it's their time to talk about anything. We ask them about their education. We ask what they want to learn. We ask about their feelings. We ask about, this happened this week. How are you doing with that? Or you kind of had a rough week with this sibling, can we support you? Do you need anything from us this week? It's just their time to talk about, and it's all about them. And that has made such a huge difference in our relationships with our children. We have been consistently practicing this weekly, Sunday meetings for 8 or 10 years. And it is just been powerful to be able to check in. We have an 18-year-old now, and we still, she's a scholar, and we're still communicating with her that way. And she has a job and she's busy. She's kind of on her own, but we still get that weekly check-in with her, which is really fantastic to stay connected. And then we have family council, where we go over things that we talked about in captain's council, what we want to share, what the week looks like, gets the kids set up on what they're moving into, and just have everyone prepared for the week and what it's going to look like. And if our block schedule has to change on a certain day. If I have to take animals to the processor, that changes our block schedule. But we're all ready for it, and they know what is expected of them, and it just makes things flow so much easier. So bringing this all together, I feel like not overtime. Yay. I was a little bit nervous about this because I could talk about each one of these things for probably an hour on their own. There is so much in these things that I've learned, and I'm really passionate about them and love what they've done for our family. But bringing it all together, managing your stress really comes down to being proactive. We get stressed when we feel acted upon, when things didn't go our way, when something shows up and we don't know what it means, or we don't know how to deal with it, or what the end result is going to be. But the more proactive we can be, the easier it becomes, and you don't have to struggle with choosing that one thought over the other, because you've already planned things out and know what to expect. But you're flexible at the same time, and you give yourself that room. Flexible curriculum, that goes into managing that stress. When you are able to put that responsibility on the child, that they're responsible for their education, and you are able to understand that they will learn what they need to learn when they're ready and need to learn it, that you can have that faith in them, that relieves such a weight, because they are capable. They will do it, and they will go after it. Your job is to nurture that desire. Your job is to inspire that desire. And it is possible to do it all. Homeschool, run a business, do all of those things you feel called to do. Our farm, if you were to say we have a curriculum, there's two things. Our farm is our first curriculum. That is, our children gain so much from that. And that is simply just by working. That is simply just by getting out and doing things and learning hands-on. And their thought processes. So in this curriculum conversation, our job is teaching our children how to think. Because if they know how to think, we don't have to feel like we've prepared them for every scenario by teaching them, okay, if that's what to think. When this happens, you do this. When this happens, you do this. This is the right answer for this. That's teaching them what to think. But if they know how to think and they know how to learn, the sky is the limit, and they will do amazing things. Greatness is inside of them already, and it's our job as parents to nurture that greatness and help that child bring it out in themselves. They won't love learning. They won't love education if it doesn't require effort from them. If we just put everything out there and have the attitude that it's our responsibility, then they'll develop that attitude that it's our responsibility. And they will end up being like, well, you didn't teach me this. Well, that's not my job. If you need to learn something, you need to learn it. And I'm here to support you every step of the way. So, I hope that the block schedule, I would love to talk with anybody that wants to know a little bit more about any of these things, about how we do it, because it makes such a big difference. But the bottom line is being flexible and structured at the same time. And there is a fine balance, and it's learning what to prioritize. I've learned not to prioritize a clean house. I mean, it gets clean and we clean it, but it's messy. I've got laundry on my floor right now. But what's more important to me is that my children out there are learning how to communicate with each other, versus me putting my clothes away at this moment. So being able to choose those things, and managing your time so that you do have time for everything with those block schedules is important. And now I feel like I'm rambling, so we're going to move in. So now you have some tools to help you keep hope, have an easy year, and have it be full of inspiration. When we're inspired, it's so much easier to take action. And that's why we don't need to burden ourselves with all of the shoulds. You also have some tools to help you, if stress is rising, so that you can avoid burnout and overwhelm. And you have some really powerful tools to keep connection with your children amidst the chaos that life just can be, if we're all honest. Okay, so time for the giveaway. I didn't talk about this, but these books, I said there are two things if we had a curriculum, and our farm is the first one, and these books are the next one. Tuttle Twins series. Have any of you guys heard of the Tuttle Twins? Right, yes, that comments. Bethany, is that you saying yes, you've heard of them, or you have a question? Yep, you've heard of them. Okay, awesome. Yes. Do any of you have their books? You've heard of them, Marie? Good. You have their books? Yay! Okay, awesome. We love these books. These books teach all about how to think, how economics work, how our country is supposed to work, and teaches children how to recognize, when things aren't necessarily working how they're supposed to. And it also helps them understand maybe things that they can do to be responsible citizens and to contribute to society. That's a really big core value of our families, is being a good, responsible citizen. So in the giveaway, you get the first 6 books and their card game. And then you also get about 10 pounds of our pastured ground, not just ground, our pastured beef that we raise and sell here from the farm. So we've got, I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way, partly because I'm old-fashioned and fun, and it's less tech that can glitch on me. So I'm going to write everybody's names down so you can see my jar's empty. And we're going to write everybody's names down that are here. Okay, I have Alicia. Here's yours. Got Bethany. You guys can turn your microphones off and talk if you want to. I feel a little bit awkward.
Make sure you put my name in there twice. Just kidding.
Okay, and Jennifer. Now we had one other person here. She left though? Marie. Okay. Am I missing anyone? Do I not see anyone? Okay. Here we go. Oh, so the Tuttle Twins, their new history books that they've put out, fantastic. So if you don't have those, you should make sure to get them. Okay. And the winner is, oh, that's right. Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Bethany, just send me your address and we'll get these shipped to you. So yay. However, I do have something for everyone today. So I am going to email you all, one, the recording of this, And you're also going to get my homeschool checklist. This is forget the curriculum. These are if you focus on these 15 things, you should feel validated as a mom and empowered as a homeschool mom. And the kind of just some of those reminders of let go of this, focus on this type of a thing. You also get my What's for Lunch guide to easy nutrient-dense meals. I'll give you the weekly interview template that we use in our weekly meetings. And everybody on this call can get free shipping. If they want to try any of our meats, just use the code EasyShip and you can get free shipping on an order of meats. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming and being here with me and listening to me share my experience. I really hope that you're able to come away with something that, even if it's just one thing that you can apply, that is supportive and helpful. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. But if you don't already, make sure you follow our farm on social media. We're on Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. And awesome, Alicia. Thank you for sharing that. And on our email list, if you've registered for this, you're on our email list, but we send emails twice a week. I send recipes, homeschool, family tips, weekly specials, and farm updates. And I try not to fill your inbox, so twice a week just to stay in touch. But thank you, Marie. And then just as 1984 Farms, we ship our meats weekly, and you can learn more about our farm at our website, 1984farms.com. And you are welcome to email me anytime, info@1984farms.com. Ask me questions. I feel really inspired and called to offer more support to family structure for other people. So I would love your questions because then it helps me know what kind of things to share. So thank you again for coming, and we will talk to you guys later.